I once boosted ROAS by nearly 50% in just 6 months thanks to one game-changing move: using influencer content in meta ads. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what this influencer strategy looked like and why it works so well. Okay, let's start with a business case study. Now, whilst I would absolutely love to share all the juicy details and tell you which brand this was for, unfortunately, I can't do that, but I can share some of the details with you. So the brand was a Shopify e-commerce store, a maternity brand. Now their average ROAS, which is return on ad spend, was sitting at around 3.5x, and their break-even ROAS was around 2.5x. So their ad performance was doing okay, but their target was to get to a ROAS of around 4.3x to improve profitability. So we knew it was time to shake up the strategy. So I'm going to take you through the exact breakdown of the key changes we made, and later I'm going to reveal the results. So firstly, we changed up the creative. When you go onto Facebook Ads Library, a lot of creatives look like this: static images with text, maybe a carousel. And this was the problem we identified for our maternity brand. We needed more engaging and authentic content to bring the product to life. Think product demos, unboxings, day in the life content, all in an influencer style. By the way, I just want to add this: Facebook Ads Library is a great way to start, especially if you're looking for ad creation inspiration. It's also worth mentioning that advertisers are not going to keep bad ad creators live if they are hemorrhaging money. So it's always a fantastic place to start. So we identified the problem, and our new creative strategy was to therefore partner with niche influencers to produce video ads tailored for our target audience. So traditionally speaking, brands partner with influencers to promote products on the influencers' own channels, reaching their followers through sponsored posts, stories, or videos, etc. Now, some brands do take it a step further by securing usage rights, allowing them to repurpose the influencer's content for their own advertising. Essentially, it's like blending organic reach with paid media. Now, alternatively, you can skip the whole influencer's audience altogether and simply hire them to create content. They don't post it on their channels, you do, using it for your meta ads and other paid campaigns. Now, as someone who has managed brand advertising using meta products, I have seen the real impact of having usage rights to the influencer's content. Now, whilst a creator's post might bring in a short-term boost, that same content, when repurposed for ads, can deliver long-term results, since it scales, converts, and continues driving ROI far beyond the creator's audience. In fact, influencer-powered ads often perform significantly better, up to 4x higher click-through rates, up to 50% lower cost per click, and 31% more memorable. Another big plus is that you don't need to hire a videographer, an editor. Those costs are baked into the influencer's collaboration. So before finding the kind of creator you want to work with, it is important to really understand your audience. There's no denying it, metrics like gender, age, and interests are all very important. But in my opinion, if you really want to get ahead, so is understanding the way your customer thinks. And this is because in today's market, consumers care very deeply about authenticity. In fact, 84% say they trust a brand more when they see real experiences featured in its advertising. So going back to our maternity brand, I knew I had to get in the mind of a pregnant person. And at the time, I actually was pregnant. So this really had its advantage because I felt like the customer. So as a pregnant person, I knew the buying window for maternity wear was short. So let's say a maximum between 8 to 9 months. So I knew as a brand, I didn't necessarily have a lot of time to build a relationship with my potential customer. And it's also worth mentioning as well, an audience like this is very much centered around a time of life, and the market refreshes, which again also had its advantages. Because, for example, if there are new people in your audience today, people who are different from 6 months ago, your ads are less likely going to experience fatigue quickly, and this made the whole idea using influencers much more attractive. Because we didn't have enough time to build that relationship with the customer, the influencer who had already built that kind of reputation, and if our customer sees an ad from that influencer and they recognize them, they're going to instantly trust them more. If you want to see a great video on the psychology on why we buy from influencers, definitely check out one of our previous videos. It's very interesting. It's one of my favorite videos. I'll link it down below. The next thing we needed to do was to find the right creators, and the Maternity brand was actually really hesitant to spend any significant amount of money on influencers because it was just so new to them. But in this situation, it is really important to think about and be realistic on who you reach out to, because you need to understand what you're trying to achieve. If you're a brand with good budgets, you could consider investing a week's ad spend into influencers. And if this improves results by even just 5%, it's going to end up paying for itself later. However, if you are a small brand like my brand Stretch Suit, you can still work with smaller creators who are happy to make content in exchange for gifted product. And once they've posted, you can just ask if it's cool to use their content for ads. And this is something that we did recently with Stretch Suit, and we have some great influencer ads running.
I'll put this on. I don't think I'm going to be taking it off. It's really thick, double-lined.
I wanted to show off some of the benefits of the Stretch Suit. So we have adjustable straps at the back.
So if you want to learn how to absolutely nail gifting, check out our influencer gifting guide and our YouTube video, and it just walks through everything. I'll pop the link to it down in the description. So in this situation, our Maternity brand actually already had a healthy advertising budget. So I managed to convince them to invest a week's ad spend into influencers. So in the end, we actually ended up having smaller influencers and large influencers that the audience would definitely recognize. And I've actually done a video on the top 10 ways you can find niche influencers, so I'll leave a link to that down in the description. However, you could use Modash's 14-day free trial to find your ideal influencers in just a matter of clicks. Let me show you how it works. Now, just to mention, Modash is an excellent end-to-end platform for Shopify brands where you can manage your entire influencer campaign from discovery, selling products, outreach, affiliate marketing, and just a lot more. The discovery tool is absolutely game changer. It's genius since it has every public profile with over 1,000 followers on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You also have influencer filters like their location, gender, age, and language. So I'm just going to pop in those details. You can also add in a follower range. So let's say we want to find creators between 100,000 to 2 million. We can just add that in. Now next, we have what I call niche identifiers. So to find our pregnant creators, I might look for influencers who've added the term pregnant to their bio, or have used hashtags like first trimester, second trimester, and I also could search for captions that include the word like pregnancy. Now, to get the best results, I recommend adding these niche identifiers one at a time rather than all at once. Using too many filters at once might actually exclude creators who could be the perfect fit for your campaign. So it's just best to do one by one. Once you find a creator that you like the look of, you can then click into their profile and check out all their previous posts and metrics without having to ask them for screenshots, which is very beneficial and saves you a lot of time. You can then add your influencer into a list. Now, if you are also an established brand, you can actually find and import your existing customer list to identify potential influencers within your existing audience. And additionally, you can find your fans by entering your brand's social handle to discover influencers who already follow and engage with your brand's social media accounts. You can also find out which influencers your competitors have worked with by entering your competitor's handle into the search bar and then heading to the collaborations timeline. Now, if you found an influencer you love and you want to find similar ones, maybe with a small following, for example, just pop the handle into Modash, add your criteria, and it will suggest lookalikes that are a great fit. So after finding the right creators for our campaign, next it was time to strike a deal. So when it comes to using influencer content for ads, there are a few key things that you do need to keep in mind. So going back to the Stretch Suit example from earlier, you might be able to gift to influencers who are just naturally happy for their content to be used in your ads. Perhaps it's good promotion for them and they won't ask for any contracts or obligations. However, there will be situations where the influencer may want a monthly usage fee, a percentage of the campaign's ad spend, and contracts in place. So if you're going to go down the contracts route, make sure it clearly outlines the usage rights, timeline, and payment terms. And you also want to be super clear on whether the ads will be whitelisted, meaning they'll run through the influencer's account as opposed to your own. So in our example, we actually ran the ads through our own accounts, and we also did a mix of gifted content and also paid content, especially with influencers who will be recognized by our audience. By the way, we have some great blog posts covering content usage rights, repurposing influencer-generated content, influencer compensation, whitelisting, and there's even a free contract template to help you get you started. Links down below. Now, the next thing we needed to get right was nailing our outreach messaging. Now, take it from someone who used to be an influencer. If your outreach sucks, it is being deleted straight away. Now, the best emails I ever received were personalized. They told me exactly why they were reaching out. Maybe they enjoyed a latest video of mine, and there was like a proper brand introduction explaining who they were and what their product was. I also liked the emails that clearly outlined a deliverable. So for example, they wanted a reel with a 30-day usage rights for ads. I also like the ones that asked for my rates, included links to their websites and social media so I can easily check them out. And I love the ones that gave me like an info sheet on the product so I could clearly identify whether or not it was a good fit for me. We actually got a really great video coming your way all about the right way to reach out to influencers. So what I'll do is drop the link to that down in the description once it's live. However, in the meantime, check out our blog post below with ready-to-use templates. Okay, drum roll. Results for our maternity brand. We're going to start with looking at the hook rates. Now, this metric is calculated by dividing the number of 3-second video views by the total impressions. So basically, it tells you how well your ad is grabbing the attention right from the start, how many people are actually sticking around for those first few seconds instead of just scrolling past. So our previous hook rate for the maternity brand was sitting around 10.4%. Now, anything around 10% or over is considered to be okay. But with our new creatives, this jumped to 31%. That is absolutely huge. And it tells us that the new content was either visually striking or that our audience instantly recognized and trusted the influencers we partnered with. So really good stuff. Now here's where it gets very exciting. I love this. Our ROAS went from 3.5x to 5.2x. So not only were the ads performing better, but they were also more profitable. It showed that our audience was actually engaging with the content and not just skipping past it. And I just want to be clear, this was the only thing we changed, just the creative. It was the same offer, same ad spend, same everything, just the content. Now, I just want to mention, if this is your first experience working with an influencer and perhaps the results doesn't deliver first time round, please don't get discouraged. It just often means maybe the fit wasn't quite right, whether it was the influencer, the creative, the hook, or the offer itself. That's just a normal part of the process. But when it does land, influencer content has the power to create authentic connections, boost engagement, and drive real growth for your e-commerce business. Please let me know in the comments if this is a strategy that you ever tried out before. I'd just love to hear your results. We'll see you next time. Bye.